Hi, Mr. Troy. Thank you so much for joining in this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I am Wells, and thank you, Razels, for allowing me to be here on this morning.
Yeah, it's pleasure is mine and super excited to have a conversation with you. And we have an interesting topic in our hand, like how to create generational wealth. And that's everyone of us like wants to do that, right? And not
Right.
many people can do that. Like
Yeah.
they are limiting belief or like probably we don't work towards it and like we don't plan around it. So before that, I'd love to know more about you. So like how did you come up with the idea of like creating generational wealth? And is not a lot of people like think about like creating wealth is a good thing. Like they think money is
Yeah.
evil and things like that.
Well, I will say this first of all, Razel. Again, thank you for allowing me to be here. I did not come up with the terminology or the ideology. However, it's been around for years, and we see, many people, especially people like Rockefellers and these people that have that what we call old money that's been passed down for generations.
Mhm.
And so, I tell people I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, a lot of mistakes. And, coming up, my parents were not taught about money and generational wealth. And then, I started seeing things that I said, well, I wasn't taught, but does that mean that it should stop me? And so I tell people when I was younger, I was chasing success.
Yeah.
As I got wiser and older, I started chasing significance. And what I mean by that is I started looking at how can I leave a legacy? How can I leave an impact to my son and my grandchildren? And so I started doing research and finding some of the things that people were doing, but I had to start somewhere. So that's kind of how it got me started, especially when you start having grandchildren. I have three grandsons, and you start, thinking like, you want them to have a better life
Yeah.
than you did. And so it really gets you to thinking. And then, so start thinking about how can I leave them an inheritance or generational wealth.
Yeah, interesting. And we come across with like a lot of us like it doesn't have that kind of generational wealth from like a backing up with
Right,
problem our parents didn't leave us enough
right.
or like a grandparents. So if someone like starting from scratch and they want to leave like a generational wealth for their coming future for their grandchildren or like the next generation, what's the best way to create that? Like, is there like investing in some certain things or like a create
Yeah.
your own business? What route you would go in terms of like leaving this behind?
Yeah, great question. So the first of all, I would tell a person is to start. We have what we call the seven money milestones,
Mhm.
and the seven money milestones is a blueprint to generating wealth, and it's basically a roadmap or a blueprint. So milestone number one is we tell people say, hey, get a financial education. Now that could be reading books, sometimes YouTube. You have to be careful with YouTube and internet because sometimes there's some misinformation out there. But get a start. But we tell them, start reading and educating yourself, but also get with a financial professional that they trust.
Yeah.
Uh, the second thing we'll tell them is proper protection. And proper protection meaning in the event, and now I know you're in the UK, Roselle, and it may be similar or different, but proper protection, we tell them to make sure they have life insurance. In the event if they pass, they die, their family will have something, number one, to bury them. But also what people don't really realize, life insurance is probably one of the least expensive ways to leave an inheritance
Mm.
to your beneficiaries, because you can cover yourself and transfer the risk and it don't cost you a lot. So number two is proper protection. Make sure they protected in the event if they pass. Number three is having an emergency fund. So in the event car breakdown, the refrigerator go out, the stove go out,
Yeah.
you have money to be able to cover those expenses. Number four is debt management. We know debt is huge, especially in America. It's a big problem,
Yeah.
but all over, but especially in America, people are so swarmed in debt. But we say manage your debt, try to reduce it. Number five is to create cash flow. That could be starting a side hustle. That could be lowering expenses. Number 6, we tell them is to build what they have, continue to build the wealth, and that is minimizing taxes and checking. Make sure you minimizing risk if you invested in the market and things. And then number 7, the part of that blueprint is protecting that wealth. And protecting that wealth, we mean by having wills, having trust. So people have 2 options if they pass. If they pass with a will, then they dictate or control where the assets go. If they do not, the government dictates and controls. So we tell people, put those things in place, and that's a blueprint or roadmap to start creating a generational wealth. Not saying that it's going to be an overnight thing or they're going to accomplish this wealth instantly or overnight, but that's just giving them a blueprint. So I hope that answered that question, Razak.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, a lot of us, we probably working in a day job, and we have that dream, like we're gonna leave a lot of wealth behind for our family, or like we can enjoy ourselves when we're in the 50s and 60s, like retire and with like lots of wealth. So those who like got a job and they don't have that kind of scoop in terms of like they can save or like invest in, do you recommend them to like start their business or like doing a side hustle during the weekend?
Yes, so here's a couple things. The first thing that I recommend, if a person has a job, now this is a mindset. The first thing they should do is pay themselves first. Okay. Now, I'm a man of faith, so my pay myself first is I honor God first, and then I pay myself. So, a person might ask, well, how much should I pay myself first? That doesn't even matter. The amount doesn't matter. It's you starting the discipline and the principle that every time you get paid, whether it's $1, whether it's $10, whether it's $100, or whether it's 1% or 10%, you pay yourself first. Because what you're doing is you condition yourself in your mind to put a little bit away. And most times now, if you have an employer, you can have it direct deposit into a separate account. And so start that. So paying yourself first is the key. Now, COVID taught us a lot. People started, businesses was closed. People started losing their jobs. The pandemic really taught us a lot. And what it taught us, and we see globally, companies are laying off. Facebook, Amazon, they're laying off thousands. So it's teaching us to not rely on your employer to have a side hustle or a side gig to generate an income in the event if you lose your job, voluntary or involuntary, you can be able to generate some income, even if it's temporarily, to be able to support your family. So I think that's important and is key. But my recommendation, if they do start their side hustles, figure out what you're passionate about, figure out what you're gifted with, and then start from there, because you want to be able to do something, not just because it makes a lot of money, but the question a person should ask, if I got up this morning and I didn't get paid, would I still enjoy doing this? And if they can answer that question to whatever it is, then that may be the thing that they need to start a business from, but not just make it from a hobby standpoint, really make it a business.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I remember I had another business prior to what I have currently, and I had to make the shift from this business to that business, and I was doing it like in middle of the night. So I finished my restaurant business at 12 in the midnight and come home, like take a half an hour, 1 hour rest, and then from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. like I'm running my passion project, and I wasn't making anything for first 1 year, and no clients, no nothing like that. But I was working, hustling, and if you don't like what you actually do or trying to accomplish, like you wouldn't stick around for a long time. Like if I wasn't passionate about it, I wouldn't stay all night and trying to build something and without like getting any return on investment first whole year. So
that's so true. That's so true, Razel. Razel, I tell people that I don't like construction and being outside and working. I told somebody, if they told me, hey, we're going to pay you $250,000, and I will probably work that job 3 months and then I will quit. And people, I was making all kind of money, but I hated the job. So you got to figure out what's your passion, what you're gifted at, and then incorporate that. So I agree with you, Razel, totally. Yes.
And also another thing is so important, right? Which is like whatever job you're doing, I know like you have to provide for your family. I know like you have to pay your bills, but you don't have to be in the job like if you're not passionate about it for like more than 1 year or 2 year. You need to
Correct.
figure something out. Like even though high paying job, like where are you passionate about, or like gain
Right.
the skills that you need in terms of like someone can hire you for the job. Like
Correct.
I remember like I worked like different kind of jobs and I wasn't passionate about it, and I couldn't last there for like a week because like I felt like I'm suffocating, right?
Yeah, I understand
I've been
that.
suffocating it, and I quit them jobs and I make sure I figure out like why I really love and
Yeah.
enjoy. And even though I'm not getting some return on investment immediately, I made the jump. And that time like I wasn't married or I'd have to
Yeah.
pay all of them bills and everything. But if someone is like have a family or you have a children, you stay in your job and find like what you're really passionate about. Either
Hmm.
you want to be entrepreneur or not, or like you want to be like work for someone else, but you don't have that skill set. Learn the
Correct.
skill set during the weekend. You're probably gonna get high paying something in future. Otherwise, like think this way, you're probably working in a job you hate
Hmm.
and you're not enjoying, you're not gonna grow there. You're not gonna get to the level like you're gonna be earning more money from that kind of job because you're
Yeah.
not gonna look for the growth. You're gonna be like
Correct.
you're not gonna be like a creative. You're not gonna come with the new ideas, and no one's gonna be promote you like a highest level. So if you don't get to the highest level, you're not gonna get more money. So if you don't bring in more money, you're not gonna live like a generational
Right.
wealth, right?
Correct.
So it's all makes sense in a way. So what would be like investment wise, like you think like working really well, someone like in a job or like a
Hmm.
they're not like super wealthy. They just getting there, like they have their debt paid off, or like they not that kind of in debt, or like they have a certain decent amount of income coming in. Where do you recommend for them to like invest in either property, stocks, bonds, mutual funds? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, great question. And first, I want to add something to that job thing. So one thing is, if a person is working a job, try to take advantage of, even if you don't like the job,
Yeah.
but try to take advantage from this point. Let's say the company, ask the company if they will reimburse or pay for personal development
Mhm.
courses,
Yeah.
conferences, and things like that. Because what you're doing is you're adding to your skill set, build relationships with people that you work there with. So when you start your business, you've got connections that either can be a client or they can be a referral source. So even
Mm.
though you're at a business you don't like, try to take advantage of opportunities there for your benefit to add to your business. Now, to the question about what they should invest in. So I tell people like this: you have many people, Razel, they will argue uh, this this investment vehicle. First of all, it depends on who the person is and what they want to accomplish. And so nobody's the same. Everybody is different. They have different needs, goals, and objectives. And I tell people like this: there's so many financial products,
Yeah.
and it's like building a house. So if you're building a house, you may have, and all these are tools. So if you're building a house, you may need a hammer, you may need a saw, you may need a drill. Each tool performs a different function, but each are used to build that house. So I tell people is, when people go either or, I said sometimes the products are both and. Sometimes you have people pit against each other on different
Mm.
products. So sometimes it could be all the above, and look at it as building a house. Well, I may be able to use this tool or this instrument for this part, a portion, or this time, and then I may be able to use this portion in time. And so don't make it where it's locked in that you totally against everything, because it may be something that you don't agree with, but your particular client may actually need that particular vehicle to accomplish their goal.
Yeah. Yeah. That totally makes sense in that. And do you think like investing like certain amount of money like every month is like a good way, or like do you think like someone save up like a lump sum or a big chunk of money like a 50 grand, 100 grand, and then invest it? So what would be like your way doing it?
Well, Warren Buffett has this rule. Rule number one, don't lose money. Rule number two, don't lose money. So with that being said, is if a person can't afford to lose a certain amount of money because there's risk involved, don't invest it. Now, I'm not saying nobody wants to lose any of their money, but there's a possibility anytime we start investing that there's risk involved. So be aware of the risk, but I would say take calculated and smart risk. Don't let fear paralyze you from taking no risk, but just make sure it's a smart, calculated risk. And, to determine, if somebody is very fearful of losing and, and the money is tight, it might not be good for them to invest in the stock market because, they're so fearful and the stock market is not really a conservative. And you can be a conservative investor, but it's not overall conservative because you're really risking that money. So it may be another vehicle or two that a person is more conservative that they may want to invest in.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Welcome.
Troy, we're coming to end of this podcast. It's been a great pleasure having you and learning from you as well. So those who's listening, if anyone wants to learn more about you and your business, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give 2 places to find me. First of all, you can find me on LinkedIn at Troy Holt. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me there, also you can go to my website. It's troyholt.com. It's my name.com. You can connect with me there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So wish you best of luck with your business, your personal life, Troy, and thanks for coming today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Razel. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Thank you. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you got some value from it and enjoyed our conversation. So if you're interested in learning more about Troy, go visit his website or you can reach out to him on LinkedIn profile. Until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.